Saludos and salutations, Broncos country, and welcome in everyone to another grand episode of the Broncos Talk Podcast. I'm your host at a 6'10" Mexican, and joining me, as always, is my co-host at Richie. And Broncos country, let's give a big warm welcome to our new host at Broncos Viking, Johnny Taki. Johnny, woohoo! Welcome to the show, my friend.
Yay, me! No, after last week, it was so much fun being on with you guys, and the fact that we're making this a permanent thing, I'm really excited about it. It's really exciting, dude. Like, this is cool.
And we are glad to have you, my friend. But before we get to today's topic, guys, let's just go over a couple of things. Broncos country, just want to remind you that we are a fan-led Broncos-based podcast, filling you in on all things NFL news, but more importantly, Broncos news. We go live every Tuesday at 7/654 on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. As the boss would say, you know where to put them. We are on a quest for 1,000. As you guys can see right above my friend Richie's head, hashtag quest for 1,000. If you have ever wondered how to support a growing channel, the absolute best way to do that is to subscribe, hit that thumbs up, comment, and share. The more interaction we get on the pods, that go across the Mile High Roundtable network, the more eyes they get in front of Broncos country. If that wasn't enough incentive, Glenn Hauser has said that once we hit that 1,000 subscribe mark, because we will hit it, guys, he will do the next Mile High Roundtable podcast wearing the Barrel Man Barrel. And I'm pretty sure everybody's stoked to see that. So,
and nothing else.
That's up to your own discretion.
To see that part, but...
So make sure you guys slap that thumbs up button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share it so that you can know when we go live. Anytime we post amazing content on our pages, and so that other Broncos fans out there in Broncos country can know that we are here. So with that being said, guys, how the hell are you?
Glenn is not doing an after-hours segment of the change into the Barrel Man Barrel.
Glenn Hauser after hours. It even rhymes. Glenn Hauser after hours.
Yeah.
That sounds like a little bit of a job for our good friend Shadow Jacker. So, guys,
he's already after hours. He's after dark.
Let's say hi to a couple of people here already in the chat room. Bob Skinner saying sup, Broncos country. Shadow Jacker, as we just said, says woohoo.
Shadow!
Jason O'Neill says, glad to tune in. Wish I could catch everyone. And you can. Even if you cannot join us live, folks, you can always join us after the fact on YouTube. You can watch the replays. The views still count. Or if you're listening to us after 100%. The fact on audio. So don't always feel that you have to be here live all the time. Just as long as you guys watch and subscribe, that's what matters.
And Jason, feel free if you're joining us after as well. If you want to participate in that conversation, I circle back regularly and search through comments and stuff like that on our videos. So if there's anything we went over, just feel free to comment in those videos and I'll respond back.
Real quick, I want to point the fact to everybody that for the first time ever, Adon is on the bottom. Because while we were in the green room preparing for the show, Rich and I came to the agreement it'd be fun to make Adon look up for the first time in his life at other people.
And very rarely do I do that, mind
you. If ever.
Actually, here's the biggest question. Have you ever had to look up at anyone?
Ooh. Yeah. I used to work with my uncle out in Deerfield at a flower shop.
Yeah, that doesn't count. He's family.
But a bunch of times, like players that used to play for the Chicago Bulls at the time used to come in and buy flowers. And one time Tyson Chandler came in, and Tyson Chandler is like 7'1", I think. So the first guy I ever had to look up to, and he was like, man, you should come play for the Bulls, just shooting the shot. And I was like, it was a great time. I really regret not taking a picture with him that day, but
I was going to say, I thought you were about to say, I really regret not, going and playing for the Bulls, but
that too.
Yeah, see, I think everyone else had that comment. And then Adon's like, it's the only time I'm ever going to find someone taller than me. And
yeah, and I'll be honest with you. Even to this day, for me, I'm like Shaq. I can't shoot a free throw, let alone, dunk a ball without cracking or breaking my back. So
hey, me neither.
Okay, we're in the same boat. And yet still I get people that are like, wow, did you play basketball? Or you should play basketball. And it's like, 20 years ago would have made sense.
Hashtag tall people problems.
Yeah, hashtag tall people. But anyways, guys, just want to get out actually a belated message to our quarterback, John Elway, who had a birthday yesterday. So happy belated birthday to John Elway.
Happy birthday, sir.
You know, what do you get the guy that has everything?
Another Super Bowl ring?
That'd be great because, who knows if he's going to stick around after the 2021 season, with the Broncos front office. So happy belated birthday to John Elway.
Johnny can't dunk without a stepladder, says the boss man. Well, you know what? That's true. I also can't get a pot down from the top of my cabinet without a stepladder, but thanks for reminding me, boss.
Just give me a call. I'll come over and help.
Okay, how nice. It's only a 13-hour drive for you to do that. I would appreciate it.
Hey, that's what it's all about, as we say around here.
It's all about.
It's all about. But guys, Scooter Elway, you get him another scooter for his birthday. But the man is 61 years old, and from what I've seen in previous videos, can still throw a football pretty long ways.
Oh, I'm sure he can. Although he's doing it in a suit, and it's usually a custom suit, so I think you have to be worried about it ripping in the back. You know that.
You mean a Tommy Boy reference? I see what you did there.
Yeah. Fat guy in a little coat.
I think only certain people will remember that sketch, but it's a very funny one, mind you.
That's funny.
But guys, the topic about today's show is Demaryius Thomas and the fact that he retired yesterday. So I actually have a video on my Instagram, and I couldn't figure out how to pull it and share it elsewhere. When I went to Mile High for the very first time back in 2018, the week before, Demaryius Thomas had just gotten traded to the Houston Texans. So, and we were playing the Texans that Sunday. So, walking up to the stadium and seeing the giant banner of Demaryius Thomas, saying thank you, DT, and everything. He got
a really, there have been players in the past, like we were talking last week about the 97 Broncos when Neil Smith returned to Kansas City for the first time. He got booed. He got booed hard for leaving Kansas City. But when DT left Denver and then was back the following game in another uniform, Broncos country gave him an amazing welcome back. I mean, all the fans. I love the new boot, brother. I do. I love that new boot. That's wonderful.
Water for me.
Awesome. Whatever. Party pooper. Anyway, but they gave him a standing O, and they were all screaming, and everybody's on their feet clapping. There was people in the stands with homemade signs, "Thank you, DT," and things like that. I mean, that just right there, that goes to show the difference between the fans of Broncos country and a lot of other fan bases.
Yeah.
Like, did I like that Demaryius Thomas left? No. But at the same time, the next time we see him, to give him his just dues and give him that appreciation. Like, thanks for all the years you spent here. Thanks for helping us win a Super Bowl. Thanks for breaking all those records with Peyton Manning. It was really, hey, what's up, Mo? Hey, having you on the show this last Sunday, dude, it was a blast. Can't wait to do it again, buddy. But it was definitely awesome. And again, I think that's what it shows, the difference between some fan bases and Broncos country, is we still love our own, even when they're not here anymore.
Right. No, and I totally get that. And, he retiring is able to say that he played with one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the game, which was in Peyton Manning. He got to spend one season with Tim Tebow, where he had that, fantastic catch against the Steelers that sent us to the divisional round of that postseason. But the fact, like you said,
Adon, I think you froze, brother. Maybe I froze. I don't know. Maybe I did.
You just did. Matter of fact,
it was me. Okay. Well, I know. Yeah, Tebow. Yeah, he had that season with Tebow too, and he also had his rookie season with Orton.
Oh, that's right. He did. He did just before.
No, I'm sorry. That wasn't his real name. He was a Beatle reincarnated. Okay. So look, we all know it was true. He went off and did, Yellow Submarine show on Broadway somewhere. But, for a brief time, he played the role of quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Well, the crazy thing is that a lot of people have been speculating.
Played as being generous, pal.
Aside from salary cap,
Canadians are nice.
Why the Broncos actually traded Demaryius Thomas. And I've always been under the perception that there was really no point to keep him here because at that point, the Broncos still didn't have a quarterback. Trevor Siemian didn't pan out to be the answer. Brock Osweiler shipped out to Houston, and then that didn't end up going well, even though he was playing next to was it Brandon Cooks, opposite of him. So he was in good company, and unfortunately that season the Texans didn't get very far, but except past the wild card, I believe. So. Yeah. I always thought that it was if we would have had a great quarterback, if Peyton Manning could have continued to play, I think that his career in Denver would have stretched a lot longer, and they would have paid him that wide receiver money.
Absolutely, but I mean, at the same time, like we just drafted Court, we just gotten Sutton, and Sutton he flashed and he flashed good, and it kind of came. I think a part of it was when it came down to it was looking at it as, hey, we got a guy that can do the same thing, but for way less money.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you got Demaryius Thomas, who is at that point prolific,
right.
Legend in his own way. He's already made a lot of money, but he's made some incredible plays. He's won a Super Bowl. I mean, that right there makes your capital go up.
Mm-hmm.
He's done all those things. And then you look, and here comes Courtland Sutton pulling off plays just like Demaryius Thomas. And it just kind of, was like, do we want to pay as much?
The one thing I'm going to interject with, the one thing that I think we're overlooking that made DT special. So I'm not saying Courtland is not special. I'm just saying I think they were kind of unique and special in their own right. DT had that rare kind of Julio Jones blend of size and speed.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to being like 6'3" and that kind of like 220 to 230 kind of range in terms of height and size, somewhere in that general vicinity, he could book it. He could really, really run. And that really is what set DT apart from so many other receivers of his era. And that's why so many times when they were looking at him, they were comparing him to Julio Jones, for a brief time, Des Bryant, and then everyone kind of got a reality check and realized that DT was just the better receiver of the two. But it made a really, really unique blend of a size speed. Sutton is more of a throw it in my zip code and we're good.
Yeah. I'll give you that.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes Sutton a little bit more unique than DT in that respect, is that Sutton just has kind of that catch radius and kind of catch-all ability. DT was good at that, but not nearly as good as we've seen from Sutton thus far.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy that wide receivers in general have fallen to this kind of like, I don't know if stereotype is the right word, guys, but kind of like when they start to play really well, that they become kind of expendable in terms of, well, our team can benefit from having this really good player on our team, but the team risks trading them away for to save salary cap, for draft picks or whatever, or in some cases just completely cutting them. Yeah. And it kind of sucks that Demaryius Thomas didn't have the great success in elsewhere that he had. Obviously he, like we talked about, he went to the Texans and that didn't really work out, and then I believe he landed
the Texans. Are we really surprised?
With their $72 million quarterback, which
maybe, but
almost landed in
still. That $72 million quarterback, who top 5 quarterback, still only had 4 wins last season, 3.
Yeah, and ironic.
Who was he coached by?
In Houston?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
There's this guy.
Right. So that's kind of my point, though, right? When you can't remember the coach's name because it's so forgettable, that basically says all you need to say.
I want to say Bill O'Brien.
It was, but
okay.
That's my point, right? Just because he has a clef in the chin doesn't mean he can coach football.
Right. We have a couple of questions regarding DT from Jason O'Neill and EJ, and both of them are basically the same question.
You want to highlight them or?
Sure, I got it.
Okay.
In regards to DT, I can make the argument for Ring of Fame for sure. I find myself wondering about Hall of Fame. What say you guys? I don't know what. Somebody start that off.
So there is 3 comments and questions that came up in the chat almost in short succession. Let me just say, The comments that are coming through are amazing. Please keep them coming, and we really appreciate you guys joining us. I can certainly appreciate that as a general comment. 100%. I mean, if you're being kind of really objective, DT had two probably really highlight level, like, you know, top tier plays. And you have to remember, Hall of Fame is NFL wide. Ring of Fame is Denver Broncos internal stadium. So, I mean, I absolutely agree that DT should be in the Ring of Fame. Can we just basically kind of block out the spot now and just call it a day? Because as far as I'm concerned, that should be a given.
Well, I mean, he's the second rated wide receiver in franchise history.
Right. And that was before we ended up with as many rule modifications as we did to where we are now, where basically, you know, if you look at a quarterback the wrong way, you get a flag.
How'd you say it last week? Pass wind?
Yeah.
Pass wind. Yeah.
Yellow.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. The quarterback is offended. First warning.
Yeah, but I totally agree with you, Rich.
He who smells it, 10-yard penalty. He who smells it dealt it.
You know?
Yeah, I do think that he is Ring of Fame worthy because his statistics alone are just amazing. And you could almost make that point even if Denver. Well, actually, it would be harder to make that point had Denver not won that Super Bowl 50 because, you know, obviously that championship brought eyes on the entire team and made everybody on that team look amazing. And like we just talked about, Johnny, that $72 million quarterback, that was almost our quarterback. So, you know, by $2 million.
Let's not even go there.
Yeah. Hey, just a friendly reminder, man. Just a friendly reminder that almost happened.
Yeah, all that $72 million is currently going to pay legal fees. So, you know, I mean, it is what it is. But, you know, he was great. He was great for Denver. I don't think he's making Hall of Fame. I'd love to see him there. I would. I mean, it's always good to see a Bronco inducted in the Hall of Fame, but you gotta have deserved it. Now, one thing I do love about him, again, you know, Ring of Fame for sure. Ring of Fame for sure. Mile High Prophet. may the Mile High be with you, sir. And also with you. You know, I think that I think a big part of Demaryius Thomas that I loved was that he was unlike other players from that era, you know, that were on that Super Bowl squad and, you know, left for greener pastures or whatever, Chris Harris Jr. and them. DT remained pretty loyal to the Broncos fan base, regardless of the fact that he wasn't here anymore. You know, he was still constantly putting out Instagrams and tweets and stuff, talking about how much he still loves Broncos country and misses us. And, you know, others like Chris Harris, all the respect in the world to Chris Harris Jr. I will always be a huge fan, but I mean, he went over to the Rams and started talking tons of smack about Denver. And it, you know, I like that about DT. That's why, you know, him being
one correction though. One Chargers. Correction. Harris attacked the organization.
Yeah.
I have never heard Harris directly attack the fans.
True. Never has he directly attacked the fans.
Right. And I think that's an important distinction.
But, you know, he still talked all the smack about the organization. DT still had, I don't think I've ever heard a bad word from him.
No.
You know, he so I'm excited about the fact that he's willing to come back, sign like I think it's a 1-day deal.
To retire a Bronco.
You know, to retire a Bronco. That's awesome. I think that's what I remember. I've seen other people do that. Other guys when they go to retire, I've seen them sign with a team for 1 day just to make their retirement.
Romo did that with the Cowboys, for example.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
That's really a classy move by us as an organization, and I think that as fans, we really should be both appreciative and it shows us just a high class within an organization to do something like that for a player that really contributed so much to our success during that stretch, and quite literally put himself on a trajectory where you can start having discussions about him making it to the Hall. I think it's going to be tough for him, but I think, you know, with his time here in Denver, he certainly does enter in that conversation, but I do think it will be a tough go for him.
It will be.
You know what? The Hall of Fame, as Mohammed Badri points out here, I totally agree. I think that that's a higher mountain for him to climb and a little bit tougher, because in order to be Hall of Fame,
high mountain.
a mile high mountain. Yeah, it's a mile high. So, hopefully he can get it, but I don't really know who it is that's in charge of electing these players into the Hall of Fame, but I do know that their guidelines are pretty strict.
They're very strict.
Yeah.
And like, Jason O'Neill said it there, but Mundungus said it first. Rod Smith makes it into the Hall of Fame before DT.
Yeah.
I mean, and you all know how I feel about Rod Smith. So no argument at all.
Yeah, I agreed.
And Jason O'Neill, speaking of Rod Smith, he should be. And yes, he should be. That's why I said last week, Rod Smith is probably one of the most underrated wide receivers in NFL history. Everybody remembers him in Broncos country. That was fans anyway at that time. Everybody remembers Rod Smith in Broncos country. But you talk about the NFL, Rod Smith who? And I'm like, that's wrong. That's so wrong.
Especially with the stats and the he had some epic plays. I mean, even just in our episode last week on the 97 season there.
Yeah.
I mean, even just that season alone, a highlight reel compilation is easily
his contribution is 89 passing touchdowns as a Bronco. I mean, in a career, that's insane.
Right.
That's insane. That's 11 away from triple digits. That's
right.
That's not common.
No.
You know what I mean? His career stats very, very nearly mirrored Michael Irvin.
Yes.
I mean, it's just, again, underrated and underappreciated.
Well, and just, I know this is about DT, but you also have to look at what that means is someone like Michael Irvin came in as a very high round draft pick. And someone like Rod Smith had to work his way into that echelon and to be thought of that way by our team. So that just shows just how good of a player Rod really was, because he had to overcome far more obstacles than a player like Michael Irvin did.
Absolutely. There was that question. You mind if I pull up this one by Jason O'Neill, you guys?
Sure. Please.
Favorite.
Jason, thanks for coming.
Yeah. Agreed. It's good to see you on the show live, brother. Favorite DT moment?
I'd probably say that Steelers game, that catch. I mean, that stiff arm. As soon as you saw it, you were just like, he's gone. There is no way he's catching. That man just turned down the Jets and he was gone.
There was that one. I think I'm all about. There's two. I can't remember who we were playing in the second one that I'm going to mention, but the first one is the catch, the one-handed catch at the back of the end zone over against the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Like that just, I mean, he was so vertical and just like I don't know. He snatched it. He picked it out of the air and just came down, tapped 2 feet, and he's in. And I mean, it was beautiful. The other one, it was a screen pass from Peyton Manning.
The Ravens game.
I want to say it was the Ravens. It was a screen pass. It was that screen pass from Peyton, and he took off to the races, busted through, and just hit the sideline. And like I remember at that time, Peyton Manning needed only like 104 more yards to break a passing record. Yeah. Or he only needed like 94 more yards or something like that, or 80 something.
Well, the one in the Ravens game was the 7th. That's when Peyton Manning went 7 touchdowns. That was the season opener against the Ravens in 2013.
Yeah. It might have been that one.
And so that wasn't quite the same one, but you kind of stole my thunder a little bit because it's a similar style that was one of my favorite ones. It was almost like a dump pass. Like it's not really a screen pass. It was more of like a safety valve where DT did a loop back by the left sideline and Peyton just kind of like shoveled it over the lineman. And then DT took it all the way to the house. And
that's the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about.
Yeah, and
more of a dump pass. Yeah.
The 7th.
I won that one. But that to me, is exactly what I was talking about earlier in the show, is what separated DT from so many other receivers was that blend of size, speed, and his hands as a just like a kind of a triple threat in terms of what he could do. Now, he also had really good blocking, which a lot of people didn't really appreciate as much as I think they should. Which brings me to what my second favorite one was, which was a run block when he was here with CJ. And he was one of the lead blockers that allowed CJ to break up on the right sideline. And I can't remember the team for the life of me, but it was one of those early CJ runs when he and DT were together. And CJ was just kind of just being allowed to play because John Fox, for whatever reason, hated him, even though CJ was my guy. I hope CJ's watching at some point because I would love to have him here.
How relevant is John Fox's opinion in Broncos country today?
Sorry, who? John?
I rest my case. Exactly.
Sorry, John who? Exactly. Yeah. So the only John that's relevant right now in Broncos country is John Elway. And
I thought you were about to say me. Oh.
No, you're not in Broncos country, so you're part of Broncos country, but you're not in Broncos country. But it was, and to me, I think that an underrated piece for many wide receivers is the blockability, their ability to actually block on run plays, because so many times we only think of wide receivers as saying, hey, run really far, really fast and run a precise route and catch the ball. Oh, and by the way, also, avoid getting tackled and get extra yards. But so many times we totally forget and overlook the play where you just kind of realize that he happened to be there. But then when you go back and rewatch the tape and you're saying, oh my gosh, he was the reason why running back X or CJ Anderson in this case got his 50 yards for a touchdown or 30 yards for a touchdown. And that's such a big deal.
Yeah. He was a phenomenal player all around, man. Like, he was a good football player.
Correct.
So no, I totally agree. And, while we do have all these great moments and memories with Demaryius Thomas, I think the one thing that you can and I'll reiterate what I said earlier, it just really sucks that he didn't get to end his career, at least being on a roster, because I don't think he was on anybody's roster last year, let alone 2019.
I think he was for a while last year, I believe, for a bit, but he got cut like mid-season due to the injury. That
Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, so I believe he was at the beginning of the season. I don't remember who he was with.
The Jets, I believe.
Probably. I mean, that's where, as we all know, the Jets is where careers go to die.
Pretty much.
Flacco made it. Flacco made it out alive. He blew his way into retirement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flacco made it out alive, but the only way that Flacco made it out alive was being selfish.
Actually, yeah.
I mean, he's not a team player.
He's still wearing green, ironically, but just a different kind of green. But either way, I would have liked. I know there were a lot of people that were lobbying, like, "Hey, bring Demaryius back to Denver so they can rekindle that magic." But what a lot of people keep forgetting is that the Demaryius Thomas that left in 2018 would not be the Demaryius Thomas.
And rekindle the magic with who? I mean,
exactly.
Everybody that he was with when the magic was here is gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who's on the team still? Von Miller. And
there was one, and I think Justin.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's true. Justin Simmons was still here, but I mean, again, how are you going to have that magic? They're on the defense. He's on the offense. I think the only other offensive player that was here when he was Cortland Sutton and Garrett Bowles.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton I think came the year after in 2016.
No, we had Sutton and Demaryius, and then Sutton showed out, and that's when we let Demaryius go.
No, we traded him. We traded Demaryius Sutton's rookie season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And the one thing that a lot of Broncos country, and I'm not going to lie, I was actually one of them at the time as well, where I was saying it would be really nice to have DT stick around, because DT and Sutton are far more similar in terms of wide receiver skill sets than he and Emmanuel Sanders. But I mean, we just need to be honest. At that point in their careers, I mean, heck, even right now, Emmanuel Sanders is still one heck of a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he may not be quite as explosive as he once was, but he is still an excellent NFL wide receiver, even at his age.
Yeah.
And by NFL standards, he's an old man.
I concur, Doctor.
And Sanders has played for a couple of number of teams. I'm trying to recall. He started out as Steeler, then he came to Denver, and then he went to the Niners, then he went to the Saints, and now he's with the Bills. So he's a bit of a journeyman himself. And the Bills could be his last, championship or bust type of team before, he decides to hang up his cleats.
It's getting about that time for Esan to consider hanging up those cleats. I mean, I get the feeling he's going to be one of those that has to be shown. He has to be shown it's time, rather than telling it's probably time, dude.
Yeah.
That's the problem. He still plays well. He's not elite, perhaps like he once was, but when you look at the types of things he can do, and more importantly, Emmanuel Sanders has already shown throughout his career that he's willing to be what Joe Flacco wasn't willing to do and willing to be, which is a team player.
Amen.
If you have listened to Courtland Sutton at all, like in terms of any like behind the scenes interviews and even things that are like front and center on Broncos, the Denver Broncos.com stuff, Sutton mentions Emmanuel Sanders by name for working with him.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good dude. He had some issues of his own, being a diva a little bit, but he's a great player.
100%. Yeah.
No.
And Shadowjacker has a question for us, guys, and he says, who do we believe will be the breakout rookie this season? So we're shifting gears a little bit. And I don't know if this is something that Richie and I have talked about in the past before you joined us, John.
I know we haven't.
Okay, so
I know we haven't. I mean, it's only week 2.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it really depends on which side of the ball you're talking about, Shadowjacker. If you're talking offensively, I'm gonna have to go with our boy Pookie. I believe he's gonna take a lot of people by surprise, especially a lot of people that are still hung up about Denver cutting Lindsey and sending him off, shipping him off elsewhere. So, and I hope, and while we're on that topic, I really do hope that Broncos country lays off Mike Boone, because when Mike Boone was announced that he joined the team, there were a lot of people that were writing him about him coming to Denver, calling, just disrespecting him because, the Broncos moved on from Lindsey to pick him up. So hopefully that entire thing.
I don't think they moved on from Philip Lindsay to pick Mike Boone up. I think they moved on from Philip Lindsay and then picked up Mike Boone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he Mike Boone coming to Denver was any part of why Lindsay left.
Mm-hmm.
It was just more, hey, we need a running back. Let's get Mike Boone.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just saying, give Mike Boone the respect. Unless he goes out there and bombs, then that's the reason for you to criticize him. But
breakout rookie. So breakout rookies. I mean, I think there's going to be one on either side of the ball. Obviously, you've already said it, Pookie Williams. I mean, you said he's going to take everybody by surprise. Nobody's going to be taken more surprise than those that try to get in his way.
Mm-hmm.
Like plain and simple. The other one I would say is PS2. I mean, I think Patrick Surtain's about to make like his name known. Even though the name Patrick Surtain has been well known in the NFL for decades, thanks to his father, numero uno.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's definitely going to have. I think he's going to make himself a household name very quickly.
So my original, I have one on offense and one on defense as well. Before everything happened, and I'm a bit concerned because I hate when the teams kind of sit there and say, it's a mystery injury. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Thanks for that. Is Baron Browning. I actually think that he has a legitimate shot of being rotated in kind of periodically showing out and doing a lot of things that Mundungus earmuffs, Honey Bear can't do. And I think that eventually what will start happening is that there'll be certain plays that Fangio will start to realize that he can open up in terms of how he schemes defensively, which will then basically start to see more Browning, less Honey Bear. And so I actually think that as long as he can stay healthy and this lower leg injury isn't actually a lot worse than we believe it to be, then I think that's an issue. I also have a relatively unpopular opinion in Broncos country where I believe that PS2, I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit on him. I think we saw Ojemudia struggle a fair amount last season. I think PS2 will be a target for some on the offense where they believe that they can expose him because he is less of a seek and destroy style cornerback, which is typically how Vic Fangio likes to run his secondary. And unless he leverages PS2 for what he is, which is a highly intelligent, larger cornerback, and use him as almost more of a linebacker or a safety in some respects than a cornerback, I think that he can potentially get exposed, particularly in our division, just because we have so much speed. And he's a bigger guy and he's not super, super fast, that I think that could be a problem. And I also think we saw him with some problems.
He's pretty fast, though. He's pretty fast.
He's fast, but he's not that quick twitch guy. He is more anticipatory than he is fast twitch. And on the offensive side of the ball, my breakout guy is, just because it's who I relate to, Quentin Miners. That's my dude.
The gut.
The belly. And I believe that he has a real potential, maybe not right away, maybe to be rotated in, however things are going to work. But if Kush continues to struggle being kind of moving his guy out the way is the technical term there, then I believe that they're going to probably start rotating in Quinn Miners, or perhaps even flipping Quinn Miners as a starting position later in the season. And I think you might start seeing the types of plays we all want to see on the Denver Broncos, which is our center basically throw guys out of the way and have a massive running play right up the middle.
Agreed. Okay. Travis Tarbox with another question for us, guys. He says, as far as our cornerbacks, who are the starters and who are the backups? So it
depends on the package.
I do believe that Vic Fangio is pretty much got his wish. The Broncos learned their lesson from last season, which was the injury bug that just came and
wiped us out.
So
we had 6 defensive backs on IR.
I think towards the end of the season, I accidentally screened a call from Dove Valley asking me to come play cornerback. We got to that point, man. Let's call the crippled Army veteran and have him come out and play for us. I mean,
well, the beard is a distraction, so that's a tool in your tool belt.
So with that in mind, guys,
the beard's actually really good at getting in the way of the ball.
Yeah.
So I will say that Bryce Callahan and Kendall Fuller are definite starts because
Kyle Fuller, you mean?
Kyle Fuller. I'm sorry. Kyle Fuller are definite starts.
You just want Kendall Hinton to play every game in every position, don't you?
Pretty much. And I do believe that both of those guys are definite starts, seeing as Fuller is on a 1-year contract and Callahan is, I believe, getting towards the end of his deal. So Denver needs to see which one of those two guys is worth keeping next year. And Patrick Surtain is definitely rotatable in terms of, picking up a second, especially if those guys fall to injury. So I probably would say that my only concern right now is Kareem Jackson, because I really wasn't really impressed with his season last year. I believe he did a little bit more harm than good initially. So if he can clean up those mistakes that he made, like knocking out your own players, for example.
Then, I was so mad, dude. I was so mad.
So I'm changing my breakout rookie. Was it Vincent Jr.? Was it Kerry Vincent Jr.?
Kerry Vincent, yeah.
Sorry, that's I'm Browning is out for me. You just kind of reminded me of the one position group I'm the one person on MHRT who was not a fan of our safeties last year in terms of certain areas of our game, which I believe that we were exposed in terms of some of our losses. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing, and I believe Kerry Vincent can step in for Kareem Jackson, and I believe that was one of the reasons why we ended up drafting those two safeties at the back end of the draft. So I'm changing my pick from Baron Browning to Vincent Jr. because 6'10". I completely agree with you. I had major concerns with tackling angles from Kareem Jackson last year. I also had those same problems with Justin Simmons.
You better stop. No, that's it.
Not Justin Simmons. That's where me and you differ.
You don't talk about Justin Simmons. No.
Justin Simmons is the number one rated safety in the NFL.
Number one safety in the NFL, and for a reason.
Yeah,
that's
for
fine.
a reason.
We can agree to disagree on that.
That's fine.
But I believe Vincent actually has the real potential of being that guy.
Listen, real quick, I've got to address this because now it's becoming a thing. Mundungus is over here asking if they would have allowed me to play with my stepladder, and his son, Whiz Kid. That's why, since he's the wizard, Broncos wizard. Landon is the Whiz Kid. It says, how high is the stepladder? Listen, you two. Okay, first of all, I either would have worn a mixture of of Gene Simmons shoes with cleats on the bottom, okay, or stilts, or both, okay. Gosh,
how high are the stilts?
Don't worry about it. I'm not going to give away how. Okay, I'm of average height. Okay, for an adult white male, I am of average height, 5'8". Okay, well, all right. The Army, thanks to the Army and carrying hundreds of pounds of gear on my back for 8 years, I've lost about a quarter to a half inch of my original height of 5'8". So I'm about 5'7.5" now. Still close enough to average that I'm okay. Not everybody can be a 6'10" Mexican or.
I was gonna say, I think that was a Don in like grade 4.
I honestly don't remember. 1994 was a bit fuzzy for me.
Oh Lord. Okay, that's so anyway, moving on. Okay, leaving the stepladder back there, leaned against the wall. Okay. Back on DT, Shadow Jacker asked, fellas, do you think the trade of DT was just or unjust?
Just.
I think that it was just because, and it kind of falls back into what happened with Sanders when Sanders basically said what everybody in that locker room was feeling, living in a world of suck, so to speak. That's actually what was going on with Demaryius Thomas. And
a little bit.
It was either the front office had a big decision to make. It was either we pay Demaryius a big fat contract, and it wasn't guaranteed that he would live up to that, because his injuries were starting to be, creep up on him a little bit.
They were concerning.
So
his injuries were up, his stats were down.
Yeah.
And regardless of the fact, shut up, Danny Trujillo. I don't care that average height is 5'9". Okay, it's close enough. Back, his injuries were up, his stats were down, and regardless of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Regardless of the sentiment in Denver, loving DT, you can't pay a guy based on sentiment alone. That's no way to run an organization. If you want to win games, you can't just be like, well, he's been here his whole career and he's this guy. Yes, he is, and we appreciate that. We appreciate everything he's done. But we're not going to win a game. We're not going to win games if we're paying everybody based on sentiment alone. We need to look at one, what can we afford the most, and two, how while addressing that affordability, who's going to benefit us the best. Yeah. And I think
sentiment in the past does not mean production in the future. That's
correct.
Is really what it means, right?
How many of the greatest actually stay with let's really
Jerry
look
Rice.
at it for a second. Not that many of the greatest stay with their team forever.
It's rare.
It is rare. Jerry Rice, you're right. 49ers, Jerry Rice, he was with them forever.
But didn't he left at the end?
Didn't he? He did, didn't he?
No, that was my point. Is My point in that comment was not to undermine what you were saying. It was actually to support what you were saying, which is to say there are very few that will come on and argue that Jerry Rice was not perhaps the best wide receiver in NFL history. And in fact, I hear wide receivers even come out and say, look, man, I was great, but dude, that guy was something else.
Yeah.
so most players will come out and agree. And even Jerry Rice moved on to another team at the back end of his career. So, I mean, if he's forced to do it, then DT surely is going to do it. Right. So,
So
I mean,
guys,
look at quarterbacks. I mean, that's probably the one position where of all the positions out there, they probably stay with their team more than any other position. Look, Brett Favre, okay, went to the Vikings, then the Jets after the Packers. Look at the GOAT, Tom Brady. He's in Tampa Bay now.
You took my point.
I mean, John Elway was with the Broncos forever. You know, Peyton Manning, another one considered the GOAT, was cut by the Colts. Before he came to Denver. I mean, as much as we love the sentiment, and we appreciate everything that player did for the organization in the time that they were there, it is not enough to be paying them for the future.
Yeah. You took the words right out of my mouth there, Johnny.
Sorry, I'll give them back if you want.
It's okay. It actually helps illustrate my point that, guys, you have to remember that at the end of the day, the NFL is a business, and all these franchises always have to look out for the betterment of their future. So, and there's a saying that goes around that, we cheer for the names in the front, not the names in the back. So but you
still fall in love with the name on the back too.
But you still fall in love with the name. So, and some people actually follow the name wherever it goes, even if it's to a team that's, that they're not a fan of.
That goes for my co-host on Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue, Isaiah.
So
he was a Colts fan until he followed Peyton to the Broncos.
Yeah,
and then he stayed with the Broncos, thank God. But
and it's a risky thing because with like with New England thought that they would be just fine moving on from Tom Brady. And look at the egg on Belichick and Robert Kraft's face at the end of the season, watching Tom Brady go to the playoffs and New England being eliminated.
I'm thinking
the playoffs
about it, and
in 20 years.
It's so glorious.
It's glorious for everybody that's not a Patriots fan, but it's a reminder of just the gamble that every team goes through every offseason in terms of who is valuable, who should we take a risk on keeping. If we keep this person, are they going to be in bring us closer to championship, or are they just going to cause us to go sinking under? And like you said, Johnny, quarterback is the most important position. That's why most quarterbacks are probably known to stay longer with their team, because they're the ones that,
they run it.
They run it. They hold the football and they throw the football. So
I mean, Tom Brady left New England and deflated Robert Kraft's balls. I mean, it's what he.
Well, Tom does love his soft balls.
Yes, he
does. and with Peyton Manning, if Peyton Manning did not have to take off 2011, who knows what his future would have looked like?
He would have been a Colt. I pretty much guarantee he would have been a Colt until the day he retired.
And I totally agree with you. Jim Irsay will probably regret that.
Mundungus brought it up. Joe Montana went to the Chiefs. I mean, again, we love the sentiment. We love the player. I still love, I miss him. Philip Lindsay. I'm going to miss him. We haven't actually seen a game without him yet, but I'm going to miss Philip Lindsay, and I still love Philip Lindsay. But it was time for and whether I thought it was or not, it was time for us to go in another direction, because those in Dove Valley that are running the show, because for whatever reason they don't listen to me. I've tried, believe me. They make the choice, and there's reason behind it. Mm-hmm. They're not going to make a choice that's going to harm the team on purpose. Well, except maybe retaining, Tom McMahon as special teams coach, but we won't go into that.
Well, there's that, but see, here's the thing. So there's a couple things to unpack there, and I'm going to try and go through quick so we can get to some more questions and keep going on DT here. But a couple things. One, it's not just Tom McMahon; it's also Shermer. So if you actually notice, what Shermer attempted to do was he kept. Thanks, McDonagh. Yeah, he went to prison.
He's not wrong.
Now, in all fairness, that's playing for a whole different team. Okay. So let's just call a duck a duck. Now,
No, the word it rhymes with duck. What was happening to Ryan Leaf, but it's
I
not
agree, but that's why I said it. I was hoping that innuendo and whatnot would yeah, but good for you.
Oh, Jesus.
Down, sit, hike.
Yeah, exactly. So when you look at what we did,
Sorry, McDouglas is keeping it going.
Switch to the Hoovers. Yeah.
It was a Kirby. It was a Kirby, not a Hoover.
It was a vacuum, Al.
Yeah, vacuuming means a whole different thing to Leaf, though.
Whatever it was, it sucked for him.
Yeah, it did. So, but when you look at what we did with Shermer, for example, with Philip Lindsay, he tried to have two running backs on the field at the same time. And if for whatever reason, well, I know why, but we failed miserably and he never adapted. And so when Philip Lindsay was on the field, it was basically they're going to run. Hey, let's go ahead and basically just like run a certain set of defenses. And it basically put us in a net loss a good portion of the time. But what we are going to miss the most on this team is the speed. See, what Philip Lindsay had when he was playing in an offense that better suited his abilities under, was it Scangarello?
Scangarello.
Yeah, which was the one cut and go style offense in terms of blocking schemes and whatnot. You really saw that juke kind of ability that he had to get through that hole and really make guys miss and make major plays. Regardless if they thought it was going to be a run or not, he was able to do a lot. And so that's going to be the really big thing for me is that we really needed that kind of speed.
Jamarcus Russell went everywhere but a championship game. So and a VCR.
That's one way of putting it. Yes. And then the other thing is that the important thing that as Broncos fans we need to understand is that the Broncos are where the Colts go to grow up and win a championship.
That's true. That's true. All Colts grow up to be Broncos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or need to, rather. Anyway.
Correct.
It's a very true statement.
So going, digressing all the way back, because we've had a lot of fun with that one. That was a lot of fun. Chad Kelly and Hoovers both suck. Anyway, basically, yes, DT's trade was just. Except maybe the fact that he was sent to the Texans. Whew. That was unjust.
It was, but they were the ones that came knocking, and it seemed like to me that they were trying to recreate some of that Mahai magic with, because Osweiler was still the quarterback at the time. So, no, wait, was he?
Yes. No,
I reiterate
that.
Not. Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson was there at that point.
Yeah, he just took over for Osweiler the year before. Yeah. Okay, so because I remember we lost that game by a freaking field goal. At my
Bob Skinner says, "Hey, 6'10", wake up." When Doug says, "I guess you could make the internet joke with Ryan Leaf too."
You know what, Ryan Leaf? Every time I watch that documentary about when it came down to him and Peyton Manning. The fact that all the attention that was showering Ryan Leaf, all the media and the magazine covers and whatnot, and Peyton Manning was in a football field somewhere practicing and for scouts.
Let's not talk about Ryan Leaf in the showers, buddy. Poor guy.
I never said showers.
You said they were showering. I'm just.
So and that just goes to show you.
The word hut.
Mike.
That just goes to show you how critical a pick in a draft is, because it only takes one pick to either make or break your season, let alone your franchise.
Yes.
I
mean, and that's what we're really hoping for from this draft. That this draft class is going to be finally, because we've had what looked to be great draft classes for the last few years, and then there's just been something missing, and that drives me crazy. I mean, Isaiah and I were present during the 2019 draft in Nashville. I mean, we were there when they called Noah Fant. We were there when they called when they called Drew Lock, but I was excited. I was so excited, and I still am. I still think he's got some places to go, and I think he can make it happen. I really hope he can. Granted, as always, I root for the name on the front. So if ultimately in the end the coaches decide Drew's not the guy, as big a fan of Lock as I am, I'll be like, all right, you know what? I'm a Broncos fan. Mm-hmm. So DT, we haven't had many more questions about DT. I've noticed.
Yeah.
Well, I actually have a thing that I'd like to bring up, and perhaps those of you listening can kind of chime in. I'd like to hear your feedback on this as well. But I noticed there was a bit of a delineation in DT's career. I think you guys probably noticed this as well. I hope the fans of the show here listening noticed it as well, and maybe kind of want to chime in. But I noticed that when DT had that Achilles injury, kind of near, like, I think it was the 2016 season where he was injured a couple games or a few games there, or even 2013 to a certain extent. No, you're right. It was earlier than that. Let me just quickly pull it up. It was in 2011. Sorry, it was 2011 where he had that. We had a couple of injuries that kind of stacked up on him. I noticed that he lost a fair amount of speed after that. He really started to. He really had that unique, like, kind of like I was saying earlier in the show. He had that nice blend. I noticed that spark, that extra gear that used to be there, all of a sudden wasn't. And I do wonder what everyone thinks, if that may have derailed his career a little bit. Again, when you're a bigger guy and you're putting extra pressure on joints and ligaments and tendons and that kind of stuff, I wonder if that really had a negative impact on his career. What would be super interesting, though, is I wonder if DT, now that he's retired, can actually speak to that openly.
Everybody heals.
I would love to hear him talk about that stuff.
As somebody who literally lives every day of my life for the last 5 years with severe damage to my left ankle, I mean, that area of the body is no joke. All right, like, and things like, I mean, I literally have permanent nerve damage to my left ankle, and I walk with a very pronounced limp. I don't walk a lot on this show, so you don't see it, but. And, if you see me in real life, I limp everywhere I go because of damage done to my ankle in the Army, and it hurts and it is awful. And of all the, an Achilles, the Achilles tendon, mine was damaged as part of the in one of the surgeries I had. They accidentally nicked my Achilles, and I'm going to tell you right now, there is no pain like that, and it does not just heal. It takes so much, and that is definitely what could have contributed to the drop off of the great Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah, and like I said, everybody heals differently. Even though two wide receivers can have the very exact same injury, it all depends on their regimen, how they can bounce back. Because like the boss said, he says recovering from an Achilles is even harder than you're an ACL. You are never the same after an Achilles tear.
Agreed.
Totally
ever.
Right.
Ever.
So,
it changes. It changes everything.
Yeah, it changes everything because it kind of gives you that feeling that you don't want to push yourself as hard as you did when you initially hurt yourself, because you don't want to put yourself in that predicament and position again.
KB82's in the house, y'all. What's up, KB? Kenny?
Welcome, Kenny. You just coming to the tail end of the show, but thank you so much for stopping by.
Good to see you, though, brother.
Yeah.
So I'm
not sure. I may be the only other person that has actually completely torn almost everything in my right ankle that you possibly can, and broken both major lower bones in my leg as well. And the last time I broke it was hilarious. The doctor came to me and I'm sitting there waiting for him to give me the news. And unless you're Kevin Durant. Yeah. So I'm sitting there in the waiting room with the doctor, and the doctor said, so your bone is definitely broken. And he goes, however, you've also torn every ligament in the lower part of your ankle, because when you broke it, you snapped your foot all the way back. He said, so, and he said, basically what this means for you is that on a go forward basis, you're at basically the highest risk possible of breaking your foot or lower bone again, just because of the weakness and the damage that it's done. So I can speak firsthand to this type of what like ligament and soft tissue damage can do
Soft tissue never fully heals.
No, it never does. And I mean, I've broken every single bone in both my finger and in both hands, in upper and lower part of my hand. And honestly, I would happily have that happen over again if I could get my leg back.
Up. Correction, boss. Oh, sorry. I actually have never broken a bone, knock on wood. Thank God. I'm dealing with some nerve tingling and stuff.
Hey, and you know what? At least we don't have a broken personality, bud.
The broken podcast. So unfortunately, I cannot relate to what my co-hosts are going through, but I do envy you guys for dealing with these injuries and trying to.
No, you don't. You don't envy that at all, brother. You don't envy it at all. Goofy, dudes. Goofy's in the house.
Hey, you made it.
What's up? Wait, no, I gotta do it. I did it the last time he was on Nothing Rhymes. Ready?
Yeah.
There it is.
Hey, that sounded like the real thing, brother. Not even.
I know, right? I'm actually a really gifted impressionist. I'm not just tooting my own horn. I can do a lot of different impressions of different characters. I do them very well.
I could say the same. My impressions are terrible.
Shadow Jacker says, "Haha, the broken Broncos." Okay.
Podcast.
You know what? That's it. You're done. You're done.
Hey, I still want to get into MHRT after dark, so I am not with those guys. Don't cancel my membership.
Whoa.
That's unfortunate. You can't fit through.
That was the bus. That was the bus. Here's Adon, and here's me and Rich under it. Adon just threw us under the bus, Rich.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, with regards to DT, I'm actually quite curious to see if anyone has any comments, because I noticed a major difference in his production drop off, his speed, that extra gear, his ability to cut in and out of those routes. Like you saw, you and I, Johnny, we mentioned earlier in the show some of our favorite plays. If you notice, the two plays that we mentioned were early in his career before the Achilles. And I do wonder a lot if without that Achilles injury in particular, if his career would have had a different trajectory, would he be retiring still? Like, would he not be more? Would he not be more along the lines of, say, a Julio Jones at this point?
I think he'd be more along the lines of Larry Fitzgerald and
right, exactly.
Still playing the game. Maybe not elite as he was once, but he'd still be in the game. But unfortunately, like you and I both said, and we've reiterated repeatedly, that injury does not heal. It never heals properly. I mean, even if it does, the odds of re-injury are very high, very high.
Very high.
I mean, and he did. I mean, he kept aggravating it over and over and over again. And it's not because he wasn't doing the rehab. It's not because he was, doing the wrong thing. He just, my ankle injury healed the first time. The damage under my ankle healed the first time. And then I went back to being a soldier. And I started running and doing PT every single day. And I was this fat guy that sits in front of you now. I wasn't always like this, guys. Like, I was actually fit, but unfortunately it happened.
A couple things that I want to tie in. So Goofy brings up an interesting one, which I think is a good one. So we actually spoke briefly about this earlier in the pod.
Yes.
But I think it's worth mentioning again. I think collectively we generally agree that we believe that Rod Smith is just kind of that half notch above DT.
Absolutely.
And I think that we can all pretty much agree to that as a collective group here on this pod, at least the host here. Now,
dang it, Mundungus. You're a jerk.
Man's not lying. He's not
lying, especially considering he's speaking for himself too. Anyway,
yeah, but I do want to tie this back. I do want to tie this back into current Broncos, though. And again, anyone that wants to jump in and kind of chime in here, please do so. But does this not bring up some concerns potentially about KJ Hamler and the fact we keep on hearing about him with these tissue injuries?
Not just him. I'm concerned about our training staff. I've actually been meaning to find a good caveat to bring this up.
You and I actually agree on that. You and I have actually made that comment multiple times.
Because how many lower body injuries have our players sustained in the last year?
Mm-hmm.
Lower body, not upper body. Not upper body, not neck, not shoulders, not arms. I mean, Drew Lock took that hit and hurt his shoulder. Okay, that was based on how he landed.
That was his wrist.
Yeah, his wrist, whatever. I mean, I'm just saying, like, but lower body injuries. Like, dude's just suddenly, like, in the middle of a play going down, like, I mean, what are they doing over there?
Right.
Why are so many Broncos players currently, Baron Browning, KJ Hamler, Von Miller, last season? Why are these guys all suffering lower body, from the waist down injuries? Why? What stretching are they doing?
Four ACL injuries last year. Maybe 5.
I think it was 4. I think it was 4.
Yeah.
But the point is that many lower body. I mean, that's a trend, guys. Like there's the thing called coincidence and there's a thing called trending, and that's trending. And I'm really nervous about it.
And before we wrap things up, guys, we just want to wrap up with Jason O'Neill's comment. He says, I feel Demaryius Thomas is being smart about what his body's telling him. I don't think mentally he is done, but from an overall body health standpoint, he is. He lost some speed and cutting ability.
I think, you know what? I'm going to throw this out there. I think Demaryius Thomas had a good football mind, a great football mind. I think DT would make a great coach.
I agree.
I believe so. I think there's a future in him. Hopefully it's not, falling behind, in one of those announcing booth type of jobs. Because I mean, you got to start somewhere, but I do believe that he still has a lot to contribute to.
I do too. Whether it be in college or the NFL, I think Demaryius Thomas would make an excellent, maybe wide receivers coach.
Mm-hmm.
And possibly even in the future, an offensive coordinator.
Oh, yeah. That definitely. The fact that he can, be able to replace. I mean, if they can give a guy like Kellen Moore a shot at offensive coordinator, Demaryius Thomas for sure can.
Leave Kellen Moore alone. He tried really hard.
I'd actually like to see DT in as an assistant wide receivers coach, even in Denver. I think he has shown enough for the Denver community to be someone that we can all stand behind. And I think that his skill sets are undeniable. And frankly, I think he was denied an opportunity to prove himself here when he was here, even if it's a 1-year kind of like prove it type thing. I'd love to see that kind of stuff happen here, because I think that would, again, show a really classy organization and an organization that's willing to build from within the kind of family of Broncos country.
I was going to say, and still stand behind.
Right. Exactly. 100%. 100%.
Yeah, guys. So unfortunately with that, we are out of time and we're going to have to call it a night. Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight on a great podcast. We started out talking about Demaryius and we bounced around everywhere, but thank you guys for everybody.
That makes for a good podcast though.
Yeah, it does. It does. Everybody in the comment section, whether you were with us at the beginning of the show or just barely joining in towards the end, it doesn't matter. Guys, thank you so much for coming up on board. And before I turn it over to Rich, just make sure you guys hit that like button. We do want your support. We are on a quest for 1,000. Subscribe. Hit it. With that being said, Rich, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are on a quest for 1,000. We want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate it. We want everybody to like, comment, and subscribe. Help us on that quest for 1,000. The number one thing that you can do for us as fans of this podcast is to reach out to those that you know that are members of Broncos Country and make sure that they share, like, and subscribe.
And it costs you nothing.
And it costs zero.
You nothing.
And we really do appreciate it, guys. If you do want to reach out to any of us on the social medias, I am at Richie Rich A. I'm the only Canadian here, guys, so I had to include it. And we have Broncos Viking. Please don't forget the underscore between the Broncos and the Viking. That's very important. You won't find them otherwise. And a 6'10" Mexican. We've made multiple jokes about height, And let's not forget, there's a reason why he's at the bottom right now. We want him to look up for the first time.
I see you down there. Hiya, Don.
Our goal is to get 3 main subscribers by Thursday, guys. So we need your support. We need your help. Help us get there.
It's not hard. That's 3 people. 3 people.
Thank
you guys have friends, okay? And I'm assuming at least 1 or 2 of those friends in your life are Broncos fans. Send it to them. Tell them to subscribe. Boom. Done.
And guys, on that same note, all of our social media platforms are literally the same name. So it's very, very difficult to forget those particular names. We are MHRT Podcasts. That's with an S at the end. The only exception to that is on YouTube. There is no S. Sans S. I am French. What can I say? We speak that here in Canada. I just want to really thank everyone for joining us today, and please help us on that quest for 1,000 subs. I'd also like to remind everyone that we have 2 other shows that we produce here on Mile High Roundtable. Next up this week and every other week thereafter is the namesake podcast of Mile High Roundtable, or MHRT. That is on Thursdays. That is at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain, and 3 p.m. Pacific. I kind of like to be specific for you guys so you know when to actually find us. It's important. And
they need to know their time zones.
Well, if I just label off time, people are going to get confused, man. I'm on Eastern Standard. So of course, Broncos country, a lot of you guys are on Mountain, right? So it's important to distinguish. And of course, we have, that guy's pod over there on Sundays. He happens to be on another one with us called Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue. Now, lots rhyme with blue. Not a lot rhymes with orange. I challenge you to find it.
Listen, initially when I came up with the name, it was just going to be Nothing Rhymes with Orange, but that name was taken. And so then I tried it with the ellipses, with the ... So Nothing Rhymes with Orange, ... and Blue. But unfortunately, it was too long, so I just made it Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue. Perfect.
Well, you guys go live at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Mountain, and 3 p.m. Pacific.
Specific
on Sundays. And that's with you and your co-host, Isaiah.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, I'd like to thank you all for joining us one more time. We appreciate you guys. And Mile High 5.
You ready? We're going to do it. Got to do it right, though. Ready?
Yeah.
Mile High 5.
Woo! Yes! 2 out of 3.
Much better. Much more better.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night, guys. We'll see you.